Hey everybody, this is Dave Sandoval. I'm coming to you from the Native Springs Oasis, and I've got a special guest with me today. Tal, say hello to everybody.
Hi.
And we got a really interesting subject, and as you know, I call this Drop In with Dave, and we're going to try to do as many shows as we can because I have a lot of information to share with you. And I always try to say that if your tomorrow is better than your yesterday because you spent time with me today, then we did our job. And so today's subject is one that might typically be associated with women. It's definitely a women's issue. But the last time I checked, every man I know has a mom, may have a sister, a daughter, a wife, or a girlfriend. And so there's many, many reasons why this information is not just for women. And I hope that you fellas are going to tune in and listen to every word, because at the very least, you're going to get so smart about this subject that the women in your life are going to be very impressed with your knowledge. Because most of what we're going to learn, even the women who it's affecting, a lot of times don't know. So what is today's subject du jour? It is fibroids. And fibroids, we're also going to talk about endometriosis, and we're going to talk about PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. And all of these, though, do have to do with fibroids, whether it's endometriosis or PCOS. Fibroids are growths that occur in and around the uterine wall, or the obviously the uterine wall or your ovaries. And so fibroids are caused, though, by hormone imbalances. And so when we have spikes in certain hormones, we find that fibroids are going to grow. Now, most fibroids are caused by the hormones estrogen and progesterone. And the reason why is because those are produced in your ovaries. The same ovaries that cause menstruation are producing the hormones that are considered the female hormones. And so when there are spikes in those hormones, then the trouble begins. When there is an irregular menstruation, then the trouble begins. When you miss a period altogether, then that's a really telling sign that there's something wrong with your hormones, because it's affecting your menstruation. And your irregular menstruation, heavy or light flow, irregular flow, that is going to affect a lot of different things happening within the uterus. And so, again, these tumors, these fibroids are tumors. They're non-cancerous tumors. And most women by the age of 50, 80% of women have fibroids. The only question is, are they swelling or are they staying small? If they're staying small, then they will maybe never notice. But when they begin to swell, when they begin to harden, when there begins to be a lot of them, then this is when the problems begin. Now, when they do swell, you're going to cause a lot of abdominal pain, okay? When they do swell, you might actually get bleeding, even though you're not menstruating. And when you are menstruating, your body may have difficulty releasing, and the blood may clot. And all of these things, again, are the byproducts of hormone imbalances. And 50% of women, 80% of women by the age of 50 will have them. Now, during pregnancy, it's a really big thing because you're missing several periods and your hormones are going to spike. So this is the biggest risk factor for fibroids to occur. And so this triggering of fibroids isn't necessarily happening during pregnancy. For example, during PCOS, it starts as early as 15 years old. And so, again, these symptoms like weight gain, these symptoms like missing periods, these are definitely signs that something is wrong. So there are different types of fibroids. Some are in the muscle tissue, and this is the most typical type. And this will happen, and this is what oftentimes when the womb stretches, it's because there's a lot of fibroids building within the muscle tissue. Others are actually on the serosa. And those are different because they're outside of the uterus. And those are something we have to be really careful of. Now, the most painful actually look like small mushrooms. They have a stem, and they don't just sit on this, they sit up above, and they could move back and forth. And those could actually be among the most painful. So there's different types of fibroids. They take different forms, and where they occur could make a huge difference. So we're going to get to you in just a little bit, but what we need to talk about is how and why this occurs. So each month, your uterine wall will build up cells, and then those cells are temporary. They're going to disappear every 28 days. As the menstruation starts, those cell walls get flushed away. And so when those cell walls don't get flushed away because you're missing a period, or because you're having a delayed period, then what will happen is those new cells that are ready to start growing to replace the cells that were supposed to be flushed away, they can't do it because the old cells haven't been flushed away. So they look for new places to grow. And that could be on the edges, you know what I mean? On the outer wall, and that's a real cause for problem. And so depending upon, you know, your flow, and so there's ways, we're going to teach you secrets in a little bit to help imitate a natural sloughing off of these cells, even if you're not menstruating. Okay, we're going to teach you some secrets. And my friend sitting here, Tal, she took matters into her own hands, and she actually changed her own destiny. She changed her life because she said, I don't have to live with this type of suffering. So when that uterine wall builds up and it sheds each month, during that cycle, it protects us from diseases. If you know about dolphins, they actually let their skin every like 24 or 40 hours, they have an entirely new skin, and that protects them from the stuff that might be in the ocean. And so the uterine wall sloughs off all those cells every month to protect women from things that might be happening in there. So again, when we miss a period, when the cells don't get flushed out, we could get real problems. So let's talk about endometriosis, because endometriosis is when the cells are on the outside, and they're going to be almost impossible to be flushed or to be softened up. So that when it starts becoming oftentimes more painful. So fibroids and endometriosis, these are both caused by, again, spikes in hormones, estrogen, progesterone. But your particular situation was much different. You have a more rare condition that only affects about 200,000 women in the United States. It's a different hormone problem. You see, our ovaries produce, progesterone, and they produce, estrogen, but they also produce androgen. Just a small spike of androgen, right? Now, androgen is a lot like testosterone, but it actually is a little more powerful because it directs male activity in your body, right? And so what might happen is you might get some hair, that you weren't looking for, in places you don't want it, right? Yeah. Things like that. And but you had a couple of symptoms. Do you want to tell people what your symptoms were? And by the way, say again, I want to introduce everybody to Tal, and spell your last name for us.
Kapoor.
Kapoor. Okay.
Yeah.
Kapoor. Okay.
Courage Kapoor. Yeah.
For Richard or Kapoor?
Right, either way.
Yeah,
we did it.
We'll just keep going with the puns if you let me. So we better just stop right now. But I mean, you've got a really great story because you recognized this at a young age. How young were you when you first knew that you had this?
I started menstruating when I was 13 and was irregular from the very beginning. So when I was about 15 was when my mom took me to the gynecologist and discovered that having irregular periods was not common, was not supposed to happen.
So we have to remind everybody that 28 days is a normal cycle, and anything over 30 could be considered irregular or too long. And there are different things that you could do herbally and such, and we're going to talk about those. But so what were you finding? Were you missing periods altogether?
I was missing my period altogether. I wasn't getting it for about 3 to 5 months, sometimes. Wow. That long. And when I did get it, it would last a good anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. very, very heavy. I was becoming anemic every time I would
Absolutely,
have a cycle.
And could you tell me about your diet at that time?
Oh.
No, you don't want to.
No, I don't want to. Let's just not go there.
You put the dye in diet.
Right, I put the the dye was definitely in diet for sure. I don't know what the "t" part was, but
well, that's the cross that you hit in the ground, you know, after they bury you, I think.
Exactly.
But no, well, thank you for being so honest about that. So, you know, what we find is that there's plastics in our environment, and you're really lucky that you didn't start till you were 13.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with what's called precocious puberty, you know, that some girls are starting as early as 8, 9 years old.
I'm noticing that in my daughter's grade right now. They started from the
Not
second
good.
grade, and it's like, well, they're only 8.
And you know what plasticizers are, right? The things that make those little baggies so nice to put the sandwich in, and all the goodies in, and the fresh fruit in, and all that. That plastic, the plasticizer is getting into the food and affecting our hormones. Eating fried food like French fries that have acrylamide, these things are affecting our hormones. And the, you know, cleaning solutions in our laundry detergent and the soaps that we're washing our children with, even things that we think are normal, like let's say, you know, I hate to say it, but a lot of the natural aromatherapy type of, what is it, essential oils? Like people are going crazy with essential oils, not realizing they are hormone inducing things. And they're putting essential oils in their children's bath, and they're putting essential oils. So there's good and bad to everything. So we are really messing with our children's hormones, even when we think we're doing a good thing and putting a little lavender in their bath, right? And so we don't realize that lavender is a phytoestrogen.
Really?
Yeah. And so, so we really have to understand how we could eat a diet that brings us back, because food could actually help balance these hormones. The things that we eat could go a long way toward balancing what happens in our endocrine system. So, but you, again, you started now menstruating at 15. It was irregular. You were 13.
And then 15
wow.
was when I went.
At 15, you went to the doctor. They probably recommended some type of hormone, probably.
Birth control.
Okay. And do you know what type they recommended?
Oh, goodness. I've been on so many different kinds that I couldn't.
And that's
tell
always
you
good
the
for you.
word.
Just keep changing
Just
it
keep
up.
changing.
You know?
Yeah, when it's not
nothing.
working, we'll just add another one that has a little higher this, a little
Did
more
they
of
ever ask you
that,
to change your diet?
No, not once.
Did they ask you to lose weight or exercise?
Not once.
Do any stair climbing to stimulate your thyroid?
Nope.
Wow.
Nothing.
So
now, at the time, I was very active.
You're active.
I was an athlete in my younger years.
So let's talk about that now. Okay, moms, listen, give me a hug. We're about to go into a space that moms aren't going to like.
Oh, boy.
We love our kids to run track and do gymnastics and play soccer. But did you know that young women aren't supposed to build muscle because muscle causes testosterone to build up? And all of those gymnastics exercises, building up our legs, especially where our testosterone is built up, right? And then having extra protein and not eating as much as you should, not getting enough fat so your hormones don't develop. Where's that baby fat for our little baby girls to develop into young ladies? And so a lot of times what happens is then your hormones are off, and then when you get to be, let's say, 18, 19, all of a sudden you can't seem to get the weight off.
Spot on.
Really? Okay.
Spot on. Oh my gosh. That's exactly what started happening.
So I'm just telling moms, please, if your kids are athletes, could they be little chubby athletes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we feed them a lot of fat? Can we give them like some time off, you know, to not be building up their muscle? Because, you know, every time you exercise, what are you doing? You're stimulating hormones.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially growth hormones, and that's more, you know, so we want to be careful about overworking out our kids with all this soccer and the gymnastics, which are very demanding on their legs. And where do you build testosterone? In your thighs, right? So we're turning our little girls into little boys a little bit, you know what I mean, for a minute. And then all of a sudden, why should they menstruate when they're not even little girls? See what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're turning our little boys into little girls with all the soy and all the plastic.
Right.
You know what I mean? And all the.
Wow, we're just really, everything's like all over the place and upside down.
So, but I'm so I want to hear more about your story. So I talk too much. So look at the camera, and look at our people, and tell us what happened to you. Tell us all about it.
So I was never given a diagnosis of PCOS. when I was 15. It was just to regulate my menstrual cycle. And you should know I'm from Jamaica. That doesn't mean that they're any less educated than American doctors. But it just wasn't a thing to really talk about or deal with or investigate further.
And what percentage of doctors are men, I wonder?
Oh, very high.
90 more percent.
It's got to be very
Which
high.
means they
Especially
don't have any
it's
personal
definitely
experiences. They haven't talked to their
yeah.
moms, their girlfriends, or sisters about this stuff.
For sure. I don't think that there was even a female option when I was growing up at all in Jamaica. So.
And I'll be honest, sitting as a guy, I know that I'm really blessed that the women in my life open up to me about stuff they would probably never talk to anybody else except for their girlfriends. So how hard is it to sit across from a guy in a white coat with cold hands who you have no idea what their intentions are and talk to them about your uterus?
And they're going in for a pap smear and you don't know what the heck a pap smear is.
Right? You don't even know, like, what are you doing? You know?
What are you doing? Something's going in.
Yeah,
Where?
like,
what? That's cold. Wait, stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it's really,
you know,
and then you just sort of do whatever they tell you to because you've already been put in a vulnerable place. And so their word has to be the word. And you have to live by that because you've already given yourself this way that you don't ever want to distrust what they've said.
I agree.
And so I follow the rules. I'm a rule-following girl, and
So you took the hormones, you tried different paths. What was the effect of the birth control pills? Did it work for a minute? Or?
I gained weight like that.
Always. So do you know that the average pharmaceutical drug causes you to gain 15 pounds?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So what if you're taking 2? You're 30 pounds overweight.
Wow. So
that's considered obesity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And no matter what I tried, no matter how much training I was doing with my athletics, I was not able to lose anything. I would eat one burger and all of a sudden the next day a pound is added from the one burger. And I just didn't understand what I don't understand
and
what's
you know
going
what's
on.
worse is when it's 3 days later too, you don't make the correlation either.
Yeah, you
like
forget
that.
about what it was and then you're just like, well, I don't know.
So here's the thing that's crazy is they give you a hormone and it's going to cause you to gain 15 pounds, right? And then you're going to gain the 15 pounds. The 15 pounds is a trigger for PCOS. So weight gain is so rapid weight gain triggers PCOS.
Happened like that.
And so they basically, essentially, in the saving her, they actually got her deeper into the quicksand, in a manner of speaking. So, but you weren't going to allow yourself to sink, were you? Tell us more.
No, I mean, this of course was a teenager, and I'm a little bit older now, but
you wanted to have babies.
I wanted to have babies, and I fell in love with the man of my dreams when I was 18, and you know, he loved me even though I wasn't regular, you know, and moody and gaining weight all the time. And, you know, we got married when I was just before I turned 30. And at 31, I wanted to have a baby. It was like, this is time. You know, we've been together for a long time and we really wanted to have a family. We wanted a large family.
And you don't mean like heavy children, you mean multiple children.
Multiple children. Multiple children, yeah. And so we started practicing, you know, because that's fun, right?
Yeah.
And that went on for about a year and no results, you know, taking the tests every month and nothing is happening. I came off of the pill. And
So
wasn't
by
even
practicing,
ovulating.
I think you meant you were timing your ovulation.
Well, I couldn't time it because the moment I came off the pill, my periods disappeared.
Okay.
So I didn't even know when was the optimal time.
24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we practiced all the time. And it was fun.
Yeah, you know, practice.
But we
makes
weren't
perfect.
getting the other result that we wanted, you know? And,
so, and this was pre-Purium.
This was pre-Purium, yeah.
Okay, because I would have fixed that fast.
It was way pure. I know, this is what I said to you earlier. Where were you 20 years ago, right?
So when did you have your first baby?
He is 15 and a half now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and,
something worked.
Something worked, yes. They started me on clomiphene.
More drugs.
Yes,
Nice.
and metformin.
Okay, so
because
you're having...
the clomiphene alone wasn't sufficient.
So were you having 2 or 3 eggs at a time?
Yes, there
Okay,
was a
but they
lot.
were-
And
yeah.
is anyone gonna connect? Is it gonna hook up? What's going on? And
But at
actually
least they
with
weren't
my
pushing up
son,
to 8 eggs. I mean, I've seen that craziness.
no, I have not. We didn't go to in
people
vitro.
having babies.
Yeah, we didn't do the in
I mean, a
vitro
TV show,
because I decided I needed a break, and getting really disappointed that I wasn't
And now you're
getting
30.
pregnant. Oh, I love you.
No, at the time that this.
Oh, okay.
I meant that. Yes, and now
Right,
you're-
you did. Still, I was 31.
Okay, but
So
you're just
actually,
going
we
through
started
all
at like,
this.
yeah, we
It's like
started
going from-
probably like at 29. We started
Okay.
trying. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
And I actually got pregnant with him, but I didn't know because I took the pregnancy test too soon. So it said negative. And then I said, let's just wait. Let's just buy a house. Let's forget about it.
And there you are.
5 months
incubating.
later, I still didn't have my period. And I started showing. And I was like, my pants don't fit. So I had a 4-month
This is a great
pregnancy with
story.
my son. I was completely clueless. We go to the doctor and he said, congrats, you really are pregnant. You're 22 weeks pregnant. I said, out of how many? I didn't know anything. I got 22 out of how many? He's like, yep, maybe 36. There we go.
There you go.
I was like,
Wow.
all right, let's paint the nursery. Yeah.
Amazing.
So-
So did you check the sex right away, or did you?
Oh yeah,
you did,
of course. I was like, well, there's no time to think about anything. Let's just go for it. Let's just figure everything out right
So
now.
now tell me what's happening down here.
During that time,
You're now.
fast forward, I've
yeah,
had
fast
2
forward a
children
little bit.
now.
You had 2 children. Congratulations.
So fast forward, before
I don't mean talk
right,
faster. I just mean
right,
let's get down to
before
the.
finding Purium, I had started back on the pill again after my second child because the irregular thing was driving me nuts, and gained more and more and more weight, more and more and more weight, and was being more miserable, and migraines and everything was just going downhill. It was just horrible. Depression was huge.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine,
Were you having pain at all?
a
Abdominal pain?
lot of
and
major cramping without even having
all that
a real period.
practicing, or did that slow down?
Right, it had to, sadly. But it's back now. Not that we're practicing for another one.
Let's be real here, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, was it painful?
It was painful. It was painful. Enjoyable, but painful.
Yeah.
And there were moments where it would have to stop because it was too much. So, less of those moments than not. But
So then, so where are you now, and what has changed?
oh, everything's changed. Everything's changed, Dave. I was introduced to Purium 1.5 years ago, and really didn't think of it as an internal healer for myself. I was doing it mostly for the exterior. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be back in jeans. I wanted to,
Wanted to get your
wear
bikini body
tanks.
on. Summer body.
Exactly. And that started happening. I started dropping weight. It was beautiful. And then I realized last summer, it's about 6 months in, I said, you know what? My prescription is due for my pill and my enalapril and for cholesterol and the metformin and all of that stuff was due. And I was like, I'm just gonna see because I feel really good. I feel really, really good. And so I didn't pick up the prescriptions. And 2 months later, I had a cycle. And it was heavy. It lasted probably about 10 days, which was still a miracle because coming
wasn't
from
2 weeks,
8 weeks, it's like 10 days was like nothing. Very heavy, no headaches. And then 28 days later, it came again. And it was 5 days. And it was
Amazing.
light and easy. The second day was heavy. And then it just sort of gently went away. And now it's regular, every 28 to 32 days.
Amazing. And
For
so
5 days.
So what type of Purium products are you using? What type of products?
Besides everything, yeah.
So you're pretty loading up?
Loading up. But I know for sure that doing the white American ginseng has been
Definitely.
enormously helpful.
So just let me drop in here. So white American ginseng is considered the female ginseng. It's also the cooling ginseng. It lowers blood pressure. It calms down what's called cellular oxidative stress, like immediately. But more importantly, it's an amazing hormone balancer for women. Really helps with estrogen balance, especially. So go on.
Yeah. And then my second favorite is the Women's Defense. And I learned that from you when you did an LSP and you held up the bottle just for a split second and you said, if you have PCOS, you want this. And immediately I ordered it, like whatever Dave says, right? And so immediately I ordered it because no one's ever given me anything to say, this will help you, ever.
And so
And
Women's
voila.
Defense, just so you know, is just a combination of hormone precursors, and they go into your body and they allow your body to create a balance of hormones. So it's a little bit like if you have white paint, and then you have all those little colors, and you can just add a little bit of other colors to make the white green or blue or yellow or red. And so what I do is I give your body a lot of white paint, if you would, and then your body decides what color it needs to paint with it. Does that make any sense?
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Yeah. So Women's Defense is the raw material for your body to go to work, and because diet is so oftentimes tied to, like what you eat is oftentimes to what your body could do. What you eat is the raw material for what your body could do, period. Other than things you could synthesize. And our body can only synthesize a few things. That means create them themselves. And so you use the Women's Defense, and that was a great decision.
Yeah. I also do the organic kamut for my skin because I used to have really heavy brown blotches all over my skin. And now it's like I'm wearing makeup, but very light
that's
makeup.
great.
It's not foundation, it's just powder. And
Well, that alone is an amazing,
Mood.
trio of things. Now, I want to give a little bit of advice to you guys, okay? If you are suffering from fibroids, endometriosis, I want you to lean on a product we have that's called Super Life Formula. Super Life Formula helps balance male hormones, and it's going to help it's going to help balance, it helps provide precursors for testosterone, and testosterone helps to balance female hormones. And so when you have the fibroids and endometriosis, I strongly recommend that you do use the white American ginseng, but you add the Super Life Formula as well as the barley juice formula, another amazing precursor phytoestrogen. If you have PCOS, I recommend the white American ginseng, the barley, and the Women's Defense, okay? 2 different conditions, 2 different hormone balancers. Now, the crazy thing is, when you have the fibroids and endometriosis, you can use the Women's Defense too to avoid things that might happen in the future, okay? And so I strongly recommend both the Super Life, the Women's Defense, the barley green juice, and
American ginseng.
and the white American ginseng. Now, our white American ginseng is made with glycerin, not alcohol. So if you're using it, if you're in a recovery program, don't worry. A lot of liquid ginsengs have the alcohol base. And so again, amazing, combination of ingredients. I want to, first of all, thank you. Do you have
Thank you.
30 seconds? You want to say anything final to the mamas out there and to the ladies out there? A little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, don't let one little thing slip you. If you feel like you're going through something that's struggling with your hormones, you got to get it checked out. And then stick with that and move forward and do everything in your power to heal yourself from within, because it's definitely doable. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid for your daughters. I'm not afraid for my daughter. She takes Purium products, and I feel very secure that she's going to be okay, and she's not going to go through the problems that I went through. Okay. So, take
now,
the steps.
Let's take any non-organic meat out of your diet. Let's get plastic out of your life. And I'm going to give you one last piece of advice, women. You can actually slough off the cells. I want you to take a little bit of coconut oil, some aloe vera, and some warm water and create a retentive douche. And you could actually massage that into the uterus, and you could slough off those cells. If you do this starting on day 28 in your cycle, you could actually replace what naturally would happen if you don't menstruate naturally. My name's David Sandoval. This has been another Drop In with Dave. This is Women's Health Month, and you're going to see one of these issues addressed each and every day as long as I could keep them going for the month of October. So Tal, thanks for being with me, and we'll see you guys next time. Aloha.